Tom, welcome to the CIO Zone.
Very nice to meet you, Roger.
Tell our viewers a little bit about your role and what you're here for this week.
Sure. So, Roger, I work at EMC,
yes.
And I run the EMC Consulting organization, which is a relatively new part of EMC Services organization. About 2,000 consultants that are helping our clients and some of our largest customers think about the information management challenges that they have in the world today. We spend a lot of time on conversations about private cloud, about enterprise information management, and our partnership with Oracle is really a big important part of a lot of those kind of conversations. Many of our customers are not just EMC customers, they're Oracle customers too,
right.
And they're looking to see how technology can help them address their biggest information management challenges.
At what maturity level would you say the industry is right now, and particularly, your prospect base and your client base, in thinking about the cloud and what are the management burdens and things and the so-called gotchas that they have to consider when actually doing it?
I think the whole cloud wave is really, as you point out, right, a major wave in technology, a major change in the architecture of how technology is going to work. And I would say to you that, maybe a year ago, there was just a boundless amount of cloud washing, as I call it, right? So everything was cloud enabled and cloud ready and, part of the cloud story in some manner. And there was, at that point, really a lot of grabbing on to the cloud message and trying to embrace the cloud message and make it a part of every technology company's story. What I've seen is that there's been a rationalization of the cloud hype. And I think that companies are starting to understand how broad that journey really is, right? The first part of the conversation is, I'm going to get myself a cloud. And when you say, I'm going to get myself a cloud, that sounds really easy.
Right.
And you explore a bunch of different options, and you wind up in a place where you realize just how big a journey that is.
And I think your choice of the word journey is a very critical one, because it isn't a destination per se, because the journey never really ends.
I think that's exactly right, Roger. So I will speak tomorrow at Oracle Open World a little bit about the journey to the private cloud. It's actually the title of the keynote that I will bring, and it is a relatively fundamental change, in my opinion, in the way that IT will be architected, will be run, and will be consumed. And that is not something we're going to change overnight, right? It took us 30, 40, 50 years to get into the architectural complexity that we're in today. Cloud has an opportunity to help resolve some of that complexity, but it is not an overnight light switch. It is really a journey.
When you think about where clients are today in terms of the real-life situations that they're trying to serve and the technologies and their infrastructures as they exist today, what do you think are their greatest challenges in making this transition?
There's a lot of legacy investment in very heterogeneous environments. And I think customers, frankly, are of two minds about that, right? On the one hand, they actually want fewer vendors and fewer technologies and more standardization in their environments.
More interchangeability,
right?
Agility.
Give me interoperability, interchangeability, choice, and everybody wants an element of that choice. On the other hand, they don't want to deal with 30 different technologies. They would prefer to deal with one or two or three standards. And as that starts happening, they start saying, well, now if I'm committing a third of my estate to one vendor, what kind of, how bound am I to that technology? And how much flexibility do I have ultimately to open up doors to other avenues? So, part of the complexity today is one that we have done to ourselves, we as the vendor community and we as the customer community, right? We have created very broad, heterogeneous...
Enthusiastically.
Absolutely. We embraced it every incremental step seemed like a very logical, well-justified step, right? And we wake up today and we have many more technologies and many more vendors that we might like. And as we start to standardize and use virtualization and cloud to start doing that, we start asking ourselves, just how committed am I going to be to the vendors that I want, and how tied am I to them, and how, what kind of flexibility am I ultimately going to have? And I think they're struggling with that. So that's one struggle. A second one is, I think there's the illusion, I would suggest, that our current environments are secure. We have created walls around our data centers. Right? We have added layers and layers of security and layers of firewalls and intrusion detection and other technologies that are keeping the bad guys out.
Perimeter
level, yes. Right? But I think we are losing the arms race. right? I think every step of that way, we built another wall, and somebody's come up with a new weapon that goes over that wall. And so we build a next wall, and somebody figures out a way through or underneath that wall.
And there's no reason to believe that will change.
And I think that's an arms race that we should just declare as being over, because we're going to lose it, right? So the next fundamental challenge is, as we start getting into very densely consolidated infrastructures, in particular in the data center, how do we create security that's integral to the information itself? Not to a device, not to a data center, not to an environment, but to a piece of information.
Bound to the data.
Exactly.
Right.
So we've got this duality of, I like a lot of choices and a lot of heterogeneity, yet I want to consolidate my vendor base without locking myself into something. You've got this illusion that security is there in the current environment, but every time we secure something, we find a way to breach it. And so we've got to come up with a fundamentally different way to secure things, and I think cloud has opportunities for that by finally wrestling with data or information level security.
Right.
And then the third thing we're going to come up with, and we're facing it every day, is how do we manage that environment, right? We're going to have a legacy environment. We may decide that there's something new and highly virtualized and cloud-like, or it may even be in our data center or in somebody else's data center, and we're going to want to have a single pane of glass to help us manage all of that.
Exactly right.
Very hard to go figure out, right? So
particularly when there are no standards that are universally accepted.
They're here, right? So I think customers are struggling with that, and they're saying, I now understand that I can build a private cloud, but I'm not yet sure exactly what that means for the security profile of all the information that I stick in it.
Right. Or might
stick in it. And I'm not sure I know exactly yet the management paradigm that I'm going to use to go make my legacy and my cloud environments work together. And I think the ones that are more advanced in that journey are starting to figure that out, and the ones that are getting started are having the hype of cloud kind of dispelled for them.